for a full stop and landing 13 left if that's available.
Papa Hotel Tango India Mike, Palm Springs Tower, squawk 6250.
6250.
Papa Hotel Tango India Mike, Palm Springs altimeter is 2985, radar contact about 10 miles west of the Palm Springs VOR. Presently landing runway 31, you're requesting straight in for 13.
If that's available, please.
Remember, correction, Papa Hotel Tango India Mike, make straight in runway 13 left and clear to land. Wind is 0905.
Clear to land, runway 3 left, Papa Hotel Tango India Mike, thanks.
Palm Springs clearance, plus 4658 is type PC12 slam call, request clearance to Vegas S filed.
Plus 4658, Palm Springs clearance. Good afternoon, unable to give you S file, and I'll be full route standby. Plus 4658 is cleared to the Las Vegas airport via Flight Cathedral 1 departure procedure to Palm Springs, Victor 370 to 29 Palms, Victor 538, Cresso, join the Cresso 3 arrival. Maintain 7,000, expect flight level 2405 minutes after departure, departure frequency 126.7, squawk 6316.
Plus 4658 is cleared to Vegas via Cathedral 1, Palm Springs, Victor 37029, Palms, Victor 538, Cresso 3, initially climb 7,000, expect 4025, departure 167, squawk 6316, plus 465.
Plus 4658, reback is correct. Tango India Mike, taxi to the ramp via Echo and frequency.
Taxiing to the ramp via Echo, remaining on this frequency, Papa Hotel Tango India Mike.
Ontario Tower, Cessna 237 Charlie Alpha, approximately 4 miles to the west, inbound to land.
Number 237 Charlie Alpha, roger, inner left traffic, left downwind runway 26 left, report base.
Enter left downwind for 26 left and record your base 237 Charlie Alpha.
Charlie Tower, United 242 on the visual for 20 right, will be turning for a right base shortly.
United 242 John Wayne Tower, runway 20 right, clear to land, wind 170.3.
Clear to land, 20 right, United 242.
Papa Tower King Ever 208 Kilo ILS 54.
Near 520 Yankee Kilo Palomar Tower, runway 24, clear to land, wind 210 at 11.
The land
Number 237 Charlie Alpha, runway 26 left, clear to land.
26 left, clear to land, 7 Charlie Alpha.
Palm Springs ground plus 4658 east ramp with weather going for taxi.
Plus 4658, Palm Springs ground, runway 31 right, taxi via Echo and Bravo.
Trail right via Echo Bravo 465.
Riverside Tower, good morning, November 2903 Alpha with you on the ILS.
Number 2903 Alpha, Riverside Tower, good afternoon. Runway 9 clear low approach, report miss.
November 2903 Alpha, PilotEdge, low approach, runway 9, next report is with
Palm Springs Tower plus 4658 ready to go trail right at Bravo.
What's the radio area check?
Plus 4658, Palm Springs Tower, runway 31 right, clear for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff trail right plus 465.
Papa Tower King Ever 208 Kilo 58
Here's our Yankee Kilo, roger, taxi into the ramp via Alpha.
via Alpha to
Plus 4658, contact SoCal departure.
Contact departure 465.
Cessna 7 Charlie Alpha is clearly active, taxi to the GA parking base.
We're 7 Charlie Alpha, remain on this frequency, taxi into the south ramp via Sierra.
South ramp via Sierra with you, 7 Charlie Alpha, thanks.
Number 2903 Alpha going around.
Number 03 Alpha, confirm going around or going missed?
November 2903 Alpha going missed.
Number 03 Alpha, roger, execute the published missed approach procedure.
Flying the published missed approach procedure, November 2903.
Piper 2903 Alpha, contact SoCal departure.
Contact departure, 03 Alpha.
Number 03 Alpha, departure frequency will be 135.4.
135.4 for departure, November 2903 Alpha.
Ontario Tower, November 516 Delta Mike, inbound ILS 26 left.
Number 516 Delta Mike, Ontario Tower. Good afternoon, Ontario. Wind is calm. Runway 26 left, clear to land.
26 left, clear to land, 6 Delta Mike. Ontario Tower, November 36. Correction, 516 Delta Mike, clear of the active at uniform, taxiing to the south apron.
Number 6 Delta Mike, roger, taxi on the south ramp via Sierra. Remain on this frequency.
Via Sierra on this frequency, 6 Delta Mike.
Riverside Tower, good evening. November 290 Alpha is busy on the middle coast on the season. 7 to this is left and downwind on the spec.
Number 2903 Alpha, Riverside Tower, runway 27, clear to land.
Clear to land on line 27, 03 Alpha. Riverside Ground, November 2903 Alpha. In Alpha, request taxi to the transient partner.
Number 2903 Alpha, Riverside ground. In the future, don't switch to the ground frequency unless you're told to do so. You should stay with tower, exiting the runway all the way to the hold short point. Stay on this frequency for now, taxi into the ramp via Alpha.
Taxi to ramp via Alpha. Rocket. Number 2903 Alpha.
Generally clear. Generally clearance. November 6th. Charlie Mike, Mike Cherokee. I would like to attempt the I-4 rating today.
Cherry 76 Charlie Mike, John Lane clearance. Good evening. Good luck on the I-4 destination. Will be, let's go, Kilo Oscar X-ray Romeo.
That's Kilo Oscar X-ray Romeo. 6 Charlie Mike.
Yes, sir. Good luck.
I'm going to sign off and collect some information for this destination. I'll sign back in. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Just report when you're back with the I-4. And how long do you think it'll be? It's not going to be more than an hour, is it?
No. I have to file and get some charts and plates.
Wonderful. Yeah, I'll still be here, so it shouldn't be a problem. And we'll look for your flight plan to come through. And we'll get your clearance up.
Las Vegas Tower Plus 4658 is unusual one on the right 4500.
Plus 4658 Las Vegas Tower, runway 19 right, clear to land, wind 1807.
Clear to land 19 right 468.
Plus 658 exit right, taxi into the ramp via hotel, remain on this frequency today.
Exit right, right via hotel, right frequency 58 468.
Ground number 953 Whiskey Alpha's Hyper Comanche PA24/Alpha. Like taxi the active VFR east departure with the weather.
Calling Long Beach Ground, need you to verify your call sign, please.
Sorry about that. 916 Whiskey Alpha, November 916 Whiskey Alpha.
Comanche 9016 Whiskey Alpha, Long Beach Ground, roger. And just confirm VFR eastbound.
Eastbound and the east ramp just south of runway 25.
Comanche 9016 Whiskey Alpha, roger, runway 26 right, taxi via Kilo.
Okay, 25 right via Kilo, 916 Whiskey Alpha. Long Beach Tower, November 916 Whiskey Alpha, holding short of 25 right Kilo, ready for departure via Fargo East.
Number 916 Whiskey Alpha, Long Beach Tower, runway 25 right, clear for takeoff, right downwind departure approved.
Clear for takeoff 25 right, right downwind departure 6 Whiskey Alpha.
Good day, Palm Springs, ground scanning Hotel Tango, East Red, India, close traffic, runway 31 right.
Papa Hotel Tango, do you mind? Palm Springs ground, say again aircraft type.
For a Cessna Sky.
Skyline Tango, do you mind? Thank you, runway 31 right, taxi via Echo and Bravo.
Echo and Bravo, 31 right, Papa Hotel Tango.
We're 791 Juliet, towards ground left clear.
Okay, Skype 791 Juliet. We see there's no clearance delivery with this field, so would we get our departure instructions with tower or with ground?
Always go with the lowest, so we'll start with ground. Just say your intentions.
Okay, Skype 791 Juliet. Type Cessna 172 on the south angles with the numbers requesting VFR advisories to John.
Number 791 Juliet, roger, departure frequency 134.9er, squawk 2061.
1249 is 2061. Squawk 791 Juliet.
Got 901 Juliet, read back is correct. Are you ready to taxi now?
In a couple of minutes, just gotta go around to the side. It's Skype 791 Juliet, south angles now ready to taxi.
Sky 791 Juliet, roger, runway 29 right. Taxi via hotel, correction, taxi via Alpha in Juliet.
29 right, taxi via Alpha and Juliet, Skype 791 Juliet.
Palm Springs Tower, scanning Papa Hotel Tango, Mike is holding short runway 31 right, Bravo, and ready for departure, close traffic.
Happy Saturday, everyone. Good to see you. Man, it's been such a long time. I think 2 weeks or so, which is a long time in a sim pilot's life. Been doing all kinds of other stuff related to the Uncertified Pilot Flight Simulator weekend in Lelystad has taken place in last weekend, which was really awesome. Good to see you guys. Roe, goeiedag, good to see you. And the Digital Aviator, good old Evanek, good to see you. Also glad to see you could make it to the stream today. Miniwebs, good to see you as well. Enjoyed your stream earlier today. Tinkering around with some airports. Also love the music that you're playing, by the way. Also as a background theme while I'm working as well. Microsoft Gamer, good to see you as well. Yes, I'm actually trying to get as prepared as possible in X-Plane 11 in my flight sim to earn my PPL one day, and actually also go beyond my PPL, beyond my private pilot license, my virtual private pilot license here in the flight sim, and also do some quite extensive instrument training. So flying in IMC with no visuals outside, just in the clouds, in bad visibility conditions, and try to get myself from A to B, which is quite exciting and quite challenging, and also totally new to me. So that's also what I'm going to do today to pick up that thread, part of my Season 2 series, to get as close to that instrument rating in Flight Simulator as I possibly can. Keel, good to see you as well. Sniper, good to see you as well. Hope you're all doing well, guys. Hope you're all doing well. Oh, yes, that's totally true, Microsoft. Yeah, those are totally different. But I also have some real-world flight experiences as well. So I do know the differences. And we've got some awesome add-ons, software that we can add to the baseline default flight sim to make stuff a lot more realistic, procedurally, but also in terms of the flight model. So we can get quite close, but obviously it's not the real thing. But I really also like the intellectual dimension of learning how to fly, and that's what I'm doing here. Glad to see you all here, guys. FS Weekend, Flight Simulator Weekend Convention last week was awesome. I had my very first VR virtual reality experience, guys, in X-Plane by X-Plane. Philip was there, one of the members of the X-Plane development team. Was really nice to meet him. He also did a talk on X-Plane. Kind of the usual. There was a bit of an extension at the later part of the presentation about VR and the roadmap of X-Plane. We should have VR by the end of this year. Well, that was new to me, but perhaps that was already shared in some other presentation. That was nice to hear. And I could not wait to get my hands on the Oculus Rift and have my first experience with the upcoming version 0.20 version of X-Plane that they demoed there specifically for VR. I didn't see any other features, but just mainly for VR. That was my very first time having the goggles on, and it was just mind-blowing. And I guess also because I've never had a Oculus Rift or a proper Oculus Rift experience before, it was also just my first time just having a feel for virtual reality in that way. It was just amazing. One thing though is that the resolution is not that good. So for shooter games and other games, VR is already quite okay, functional, practically useful. But for the sim, you really need a lot of a certain resolution to be able to read the radios or your instruments even. And with the VR on in that version, it's a little bit blurry. And I really need to get very close, almost with my virtual nose against my radios to be able to read the radios. Well, if I'm always flying on PilotEdge here, as you guys know, that's not a good thing. So there needs to be another Oculus Rift version 3 or whatever we are at that provides some 4K, 8K kind of resolution to be able to really use VR in a way that suits my sim pilot practice, flying on pilots and being able to switch to radios. There might be some other way to do it, a pop-up of the radios in a more bigger resolution in the VR kind of experience. But currently it's not practical for me yet. Although I did some traffic patterns with VR on, I teared up of excitement. It was amazing. And I also noticed that I'm also quite familiar with Track IR. with with the sensors here. So I'm already used to moving my body in order to have a better look around and spotting traffic. And that same skill or experience really transferred very, very well to the Oculus Rift. But the Oculus Rift was so much more sensitive. It was so much more rapid, and obviously, opposed to Track IR, I always need to point my head, my sensors in, well, this particular angle towards the sensor, right? But with the Oculus Rift, there is not really such a thing. So you can also turn all the way around, and with a traffic pattern, that's kind of practically useful. Was amazing. There wasn't a yoke, so I was using those two handhelds, which kind of mimic your virtual hands in the cockpit. So you use one hand, you click the yoke, and you enable it, and it sticks to your virtual hand almost, and you can manipulate it. Now you cannot. I was initially trying to move the yoke like this, but that's not how the current VR kind of thing works in X-Plane, or the guys are working on. You kind of like use the yoke like a joystick. So you need to use your wrist to move the yoke, which was fine. So I needed to use my left hand for the yoke virtually, and my other hand I can use to manipulate buttons and the throttle and the mixture. And I initially thought that would be a little bit weird because you don't have a feel for the hardware kind of touch, right? And you're elevating your arms, and you might get a little bit tired of doing that. And that was a bit of the case. But still, though, it's so precise, and to be able to really sit in that Cessna, also just the virtual present, the spaciousness, you really feel crammed up in a Cessna Skyhawk like in the real world. It's just amazing. I think when I have VR here at home, I will just spend hours just sitting in the cockpit and just sitting around. And Philip was really enjoying my enthusiasm, so he put me all over the place in a hangar and also in a 737 with the overhead panel. It's really something else. So that was really cool. But as Philip also said, and that also was something that came to mind for me, was okay, I've got a physical cockpit here. Do I need that physical cockpit when I transition over to VR? Well, I don't need to get rid of it entirely. What I do like is my yoke. So what he's doing at home, he says, well, I've got a yoke, and so my left hand I will not use virtually, so I just use my left hand for the yoke, but my right hand I do use to manipulate buttons and to use my throttle and my mixture. And I think that's a setup that I would have liked to try at FS Weekend as well, and I think that's a better one. I really like the feel of that yoke. But except for that and the resolution, it was amazing. It was so cool. So I really enjoyed myself there. Hey, No Pizza No Glory, good to see you too. It was also kind of cool, really cool to meet many of you there on FS Weekend face to face. It was a really nice experience. All right, so that was FS Weekend. I also made a video recording of the presentation of X-Plane that you can look up on the Uncertified Pilot YouTube channel. And I've also re-recorded or redid my presentation that I did with Avanek or the Digital Aviator at FS Weekend. I made a presentation about what I think is the thrill and educational value of flight sim and why flight simulation should actually be taught in school. That was the topic, and I invited the Digital Aviator to come over and do some parts and present that together at FS Weekend. We're really good flight sim buddies, which was really, really fun. But it was in Dutch, that talk, and some of you were curious what my talk was all about, so after the weekend, I did that talk and recorded it with my slides, and it's on YouTube and also here on Twitch. So if you're curious, it's a lengthy presentation, but it is the same content when I talk about that, the thrill and educational value of flight simulating, which also represents the spirit of the Uncertified Pilot channel or brand. So I really feel strongly about that. So if you're curious, have a look. Anyways, thanks for that, Tim. I watched that earlier today. Wonderful. Okay, so that's FS Weekend. I also installed the next beta version of the SimCoders Rep, version 3.2. I've been testing that version this morning, and there are some great new features. SimCoders are listening to us, guys. So I'm also part of the beta team, as you know, partnered with those guys. They have added some new features that I really love. Some tiny but very nice features that perhaps need to be also a little bit more improved, perhaps. But I so much love the fact that they put so much care in their products and listen to us. Right? They care. They also look at my streams here and see how they can optimize or further fit the package into our real-world training here in the flight sim. So what did they do? Well, let me show you. Thanks for the subscription, Pizza. Thanks. Thank you. Much appreciated. And again, good to see you again here on the stream. You've been there several times in the past. As I told you at Ev's weekend, it's good to see you back again. But we all got so busy lives. Me too. I also need to stick to a more regular schedule of streaming, guys. I know that I've been all over the place, but it's hard if you've got a full-time job. And there are all kinds of other appointments and things change. So yeah, life just interrupts sometimes. Bush, thanks for the follow and happy Saturday. Okay, SimCoders version 3.2 beta. So this will be released soon. Here we are outside of our wonderful Cessna Skyhawk, tie downs and everything. So if I now just go into the cockpit and I start my walk around. Finally, they've also included a measure by which we can see whether our pitot heat is actually working in the sim, which is very important. A2A already did this a long time ago, and I also mentioned on this stream that it would be very necessary, functional, not only cool, but functional, if SimCoders would also implement this in the current version. Why? Well, for IFR flying, what I'm engaged in right now, before I need to go flying, and I'm expecting to fly in the clouds and probably also in icing conditions, or unexpected icing conditions, I need to know that my pitot tube is actually working. I can flip the button in my cockpit, but that doesn't mean that the thing is actually working. And now we can test it. So that's wonderful. But also, that was actually the thing that I planned to start with. You can see this button here, pre-flight mode. So this is the initial. This is the original familiar kind of flow, right? We start with this when you press the walk around button. But now we got a pre-flight and a post-flight mode, and I really like this one. I think it can be optimized, so I'm looking forward to what you guys think. Yeah, so now we can just go. These, hey, aren't they clickable? They are clickable. I didn't know. Oh, I just posted on the beta team webpage, like these numbers needs to be clickable because that really works, but apparently they are. I think perhaps I just pointed to a number that doesn't have a good click spot, but it seems to be working just fine. Okay, my bad. So I discovered a new feature. Yes, these are clickable. That's wonderful. Does it also work? Because it seems that it's a click spot, but when I click on it, it doesn't work. Okay, so that's a bug then that needs to be fixed then. But given that they are working on this, that's excellent. Well, why? There are some checks initially when you do the walk around where you need to make sure that the lights are working and that the pitot heat is working. And with the previous version, the current released public version of SimCoders, you need to go, if you want to check those lights specifically and the pitot heat is at step number 7, you need to go all the way around from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get to the pitot heat and then, well, test whether that thing is working, which is a little bit time consuming. So I requested or said, well, guys, it would be awesome if I could just click spot number 6 or 7 just to go directly to the pitot heat, check it, and then go into the cockpit again, right? Or go to the nose, see if the lights are working, and well, and they are clearly working on that. So that's really, really cool. Anyways, they also included this, a pre-flight and a post-flight. So the pre-flight mode is the regular kind of flow that we're already familiar with. But you can also hit post-flight mode, and then you skip a lot of the steps just to shut, not really to shut down, but to anchor, to park your airplane. So for example, after a flight, usually you toggle the pitot tube cover. Well, you already start there at step number 7. Then if you press next, you're now in a post-flight mode. It skips all the steps that you don't really need. So now we go directly to 2 and we can remove the tie down. We can also remove this tie down. Tie down removed and finish. Wonderful. And well, it's called a post-flight mode, but I also think it's a pre-flight mode because you also need to remove those things before you go flying. I think this is efficient. This is a perfect example of how SimCoders is looking how we're doing things and thinks this can be optimized. Wonderful. And it's also very good to see that the click spots are working or that there are some click spots. Well, here they're not working. That's how it happened, I guess. Okay. Just curious here, guys, but if I'm in the... Oh, it doesn't work here either. Were there click spots just behind the Skyhawk? And that's why my... Yes. Yes. Okay. Perhaps that's the thing. Because here now you don't see a click spot. So perhaps I was a little bit too early saying that they are working on that. But that's something that I really like. Because then you can just click and you are much more flexible in going to those spots and do the proper checks. So that's cool. What they also added is new sounds. I also checked the stall behavior of the SimCoders of this SimCoders Beta 3.2 version is also improved. One thing that I didn't like that they should fix is that now with this beta version, and they're going to fix that obviously still, is that taxiing, there's a too exaggerated left tendency during taxi. So if your throttle is idle, there's nothing going on, it's just as usual, it's okay. But if you just give it already 10% of a throttle increase, there's already quite a significant left tendency while you're taxiing, and that's a little bit too much. Above 40 knots it seems to not be there anymore, so should be tweaked there. But overall, really like the improvements here. Thank you, Napizza. Well, I'm also learning from you guys. You also share a lot of tips and things that I don't know about or not aware of. So yeah, it's just an exchange. Okay, so this is wonderful. A new version, that's what we're flying with. I need to reset my brain here. Thanks for the subscription, Snipe. Thank you. Trusty follower. So glad that you're around once again. Alright, so what we're going to do, I always have this usual flow and I'm skipping ahead. So these were just notes, FS Weekend, SimCoders next version. I had VR experience. Any other big news, guys, in the world of X-Plane? I saw some screenshots of X-Enviro, which had nothing to do yet with the weather, but I saw seasonal textures. Which was interesting. I don't know where I saw it. I think on the forums, but I'm not sure. Let me know if you guys know. So those are the things of my notes. That's okay. What I'm going to do today is we're going to fly my first obstacle departure. I also plan to do a DME arc. I think I'm going to do that as well as part of this, well, not as part of this obstacle departure, but as part of a vortex, a thermal, for example. We're going to just pick a particular DME distance from the vortex to fly and set a crosswind and then see if I can still that easily do a DME arc. So that's what we're going to do during cruise. We're going to fly to Borrego. So this is Bermuda Dunes, right? Non-Towered Airport near Palm Springs. So we're going to fly that obstacle departure procedure that brings us all over thermal, wonderful thermal. And then we're going to go down south and we go to Borrego, which also has a obstacle departure, but it's an AirNav departure, and I think I'm a little bit curious to see how I can input that into my GPS and see how that works. And that's it for today. We're going to fly back to Bermuda, but it's going to take several hours, I guess, just to play around with that. Hey, B2, good to see you. Yep. So, yeah, I've been studying. That's also something that I did in the last couple of weeks. Studying a lot in terms of IFR, knowledge and procedures and stuff. And there's still a lot to learn, but I'm specifically focused on charts. That's a guys, if you're starting or still new to IFR flying, reading those charts, being able to read those charts is just a wonderful skill. And I'm also just fascinated by just the chart design, how much information those guys can cramp into in those charts. It's amazing. Well, this is a very simple one that we have here, which is good. My first try. But there are also other standard instrument departures and stars that look very pretty. Also the instrument approaches, but there's so much information. It's so clear. I think it's really, well, not really an art, but it's wonderful to read those and be able to read those. So what is an obstacle departure? Well, as you can see, it's a procedure that tells... thanks, Schemo, for the subscription. Thank you. Good to see you as well. We've also been... I have to say, we've been curious to meet you as well at the FS Weekend, but perhaps you were a little bit busy or had other things to do. But we had you on our mind while we were there, hoping to shake your hand at the next FS Weekend, perhaps. Anyways, so these obstacle departure procedures are intended for IFR pilots who like to leave an airport outside of visual conditions, when there is haziness, clouds, or at night or whatever. And these procedures guarantee that you're clear of obstacles. So usually, or I think almost exclusively, these obstacle departure procedures are solely specific for non-towered airports, I think. I don't know for sure. I think at towered airports you usually find departure procedures, which also guarantee that you're free of obstacles, but also with some additional features or qualities to those routes procedures. But for an obstacle departure, it's merely about, well, being able to leave the airport or the airport area, the terminal area, without hitting anything. Right, which is a good thing. So it's a small, very nice kind of procedure to fly, as you can see here, and it usually has a graphical depiction, not always, but this one it has at Bermuda Dunes, and it also has a departure route description, just in text. And as you can see, it's not that difficult, but it's fun to do that. Well, there's a lot to say about these charts. Also, all the information on top, versions, the names that you can also input in your GPS, frequencies. Yeah, a lot to cover here. And I think in the next few streams, when I move into flying those departure procedures, but also approaches and stuff, and I need to read more and more charts, I'm hoping that I can share more of what I've learned about those charts. I'm studying the King School's IFR training course, which is really wonderful. There's so much information, so clearly presented. Really loving that stuff. I also have access to the Real World IFR training course by PilotEdge, the premium one. Which goes a little bit beyond the usual standardized kind of way of IFR thinking. So all of the stuff that I will learn there and I think is interesting to share, I will share that and also apply in my own flight simulation practice, hopefully successfully as well and safely. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to fly this particular route, and we're going to go down south to Thermal, and when we're at Thermal, we're going to go off to Borrego. Now, as you can see, this procedure also includes a holding pattern, and usually many holding patterns are included. Not necessarily that you need to fly those, but also with approaches and stuff, they are depicted in case it gets busy, or, well, you need clearance in this case, or pick up a clearance or contact departure or whatever. Now, I did not yet practice flying holdings, and this is also why I finished last time, and I think also Ryan suggested to me to, before I do these, to practice how to fly holding patterns, which makes sense, as you can see, because those are usually included. Well, I have actually postponed those. That's going to be the next section. Why? Because I just cannot help myself, and I just like to fly one procedure before I do those. So that's, I'm going to dedicate an entire section, stage, I mean, of my training to holding patterns, because those can be quite complex in winds calm conditions, but also in crosswind conditions, and not only flying and holding around a vortex, but also an NDB or even an intersection. You need to time those, you need to correct for those. So I've already been studying those, the theory at least. And I guess once you get the hang of it, as usually, someone just popped in here to fly with me, I guess, here on PilotEdge. It's probably an X-Plane user because there are not that many parking spots here on Bermuda Dunes. Perhaps it's better in the future that I just pick my own afterwards before I start my flight, but it doesn't really matter. Ah, wonderful. And then guys, if you got a PilotEdge account, please join. You're free. I'm on Bermuda right now, gonna make this obstacle departure procedure. We're gonna fly to Borrego and back, just having fun on a casual Saturday. So feel free to join in. Yeah, so holding patterns, I will dedicate an entire stage to that. It's going to be complex, but for this time around, I will just skip that one. So we're just going to fly to Thermal and get back to Borrego. Yeah. So let's have a look at this particular chart. Let's see what I can already tell you. Well, as you can see, first off, which is a very important remark, on top, well, at least on my iPad, it's a little bit cut off there on the stream. Expired. Oh my gosh. And as you can see, charts have an expiration date. Very, very important. And in ForeFlight, it's being it's made really, really explicit and clear to you as a user that this is an expired chart. So I don't know, this is from 12 October to the 9th of November. So these charts are quite regularly updated based on, I guess, new obstacles or just to make sure that they are still valid. So it's important to have current charts. Well, I should have updated these charts before I started the stream, but my iPad is connected to my computer and I don't like to disrupt my Wi-Fi connection here, so I will just stick to this procedure. And also, it's just about learning how to fly a procedure, obstacle departure in this case. Every departure and also instrument approaches have a name, as you can see. On top, it also has a code. I think that's also, that CUD is the airport name. And I think the one there means that it's the first version of this chart. I'm not sure. And well, this is again not really important information, but and anyways, it's very important that if you're going to plan a particular departure procedure, that you make sure you got the right one. Some airports have multiple obstacle departure procedures, let alone just departure procedures, standard departure procedures. So it's very important to also have a first glance, general glance of, do you have the right obstacle procedure in front of you? And this seems just fine. Now, you also got frequencies here to the right. Usually they order those frequencies based on how you will use them as a pilot. So first you're going to contact ATIS or ASOS, then tower for your clearance. Then you're going to take off, departure, and I guess also before you're going to take off, this is also something that I need to practice or study. We don't have a towered controller here, right, at the at Bermuda. So how would that go in terms of frequency changes? So I imagine, and I think I saw that there's also an episode in the King Schools where they show this, that we're now on the ground. I think we can do two things. We could call in by phone to approach or to the tower, I don't know, of Palm Springs. I think approach or Tracon or. And I say, hey, here we are at Bermuda. We like to pick up our clearance, and we will get a void time. Well, you need to get off the runway in 30 minutes or so. And usually, it's best to call up that approach controller when you already have done your run up and you're already sitting in the engine is running in your airplane at the threshold, so you're sure that you can make that void time rather than doing that here when we are still cold and dark. But that's one way to do it. Well, in PilotEdge, that's not. I think what we could do is just turn on our avionics and sign into SoCal and say, hey, SoCal, here we are. If we got good reception there. What we can also do is depart and while we are in the air contact. But I think in either case in your flight plan it should be made clear what option you're going for, I think. And what the thing is, what I'm not sure about is we've got a CTAF obviously here, and well, we got good weather currently outside, so we could just easily fly VFR. There's no reason here to fly IFR. We're just doing a practice departure here. But that means that if we're only going to stick to tower and departure, and that's not because we're IFR, we're not announcing our position reports and stuff on the Unicom, on the CTAF. And so other VFR parties do not know what we are doing because we are in another dimension flying IFR. So we need to switch between CTAF and these towered frequencies, so we serve both parties, both VFR and IFR and the controllers. So I think initially you're going to request a clearance, you're going to fly. Hey Ozzy, good to see you. And get your clearance going, but then if you're going to taxi, you're going to switch over to CTAF. Same goes when you're going to arrive at a non-towered airport, you do the same. So you get a clearance and you're on guidance, towered guidance, all the way up to the approach, until eventually when you're on final, you I think you receive an instruction by the approach controller saying, well, you're free to switch over to the CTAF and let us know once you completed your flight that you actually landed, so we can close your flight plan. And that can be done by switching again to the approach controller when you're on the ramp, or by calling in, which is really, really fun. These are new procedures, and again, I'm not really 100% yet on how the procedures go, so I'm still in that study process. So if you've got any information about that, let me know, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm really digging this new content. So this is kind of the general picture that I have in mind currently when I'm considering making this departure procedure, obstacle departure. Frequencies, well, the graphical depiction of what we're going to do seems quite basic. So we need to pick a runway. Well, I think that there is AI on this traffic. Usually at non-towered airports, PilotEdge generates AI traffic, small GA, well, not always small GA, but I don't know what runway they are using, and I think it's the opposite of what I used to, and I think it's runway 10 that the AI is flying, which would favor our departure as well here, because we need to go to the east. But usually the winds are favoring runway 28, and that's usually the runway to go for. So yeah, let's just stick to runway 10, so we align ourselves with that AI, which makes life a lot more easy. Perhaps it's more educational, and we just need to look out for traffic and just stick to 28, because then we've got an additional turn and thing to make, which adds to the practice value, I think. Let's do that. We're just going to stick to 28, make sure that we're not going to fly into that traffic, AI traffic, and let's have some fun. So that means standard with minimum climb. Well, this is also interesting and kind of confused me, but actually makes a lot of sense. Everything makes sense eventually when you think about these charts. We need to have a minimum climb of 334 feet per nautical mile, not per minute, but per nautical mile, to 3,000 feet, and that will guarantee that we're free of obstacles. Or given, I think, a minimum ceiling, cloud ceiling of 2,703 nautical miles of statute miles of visibility, we could also be given a, and I don't know what the this acronym stands for, but it has to do with clearance to fly over the airport, and you're just free just to take off, given that it's marginal VMC, and you just fly over the airport and then get a clearance to get going on your route, and you get direct vectors to well, thermal or whatever. So that's an alternative, and it's also mentioned here in the departure route description that we're going to look at in just a moment. But yeah, 300 feet kind of per nautical mile. So that obviously doesn't translate to how many feet per minute we need to climb, and that's the instrument that I'm used to, right? That's this little instrument. Well, why do they not give us a feet per minute? Because aircraft performance differs from aircraft to aircraft, obviously. So my 500 feet per minute is not the same for a Learjet when you consider the number of miles you need to travel to get to a particular altitude. So that's why they needed to use this measure, many feet per mile. So you need to translate this particular climb gradient to your particular aircraft performance. Now, the most important bit is here, what is your maximum climb gradient for this particular aircraft? So you need to recalculate all the way around. Well, around 500 feet per nautical mile would translate to about 700 feet per minute climb for a Cessna Skyhawk given a 80 knots climb speed. So there are obstacle departure procedures, and this is very important, or I think also standard departure procedures, that just note this particular climb gradient that is not suitable for your particular aircraft and the load that you bring, passengers that you bring, and wind components, and well, you name it. So it's very, very important that you make sure that your aircraft is able to fly this particular departure procedure. Shy Gamer, good to see you as well. How much are the in real life vectors in the game in the game FX, is there wind and weather factors considered for takeoff? Oh yes, the whole bunch, Shy. Winds, temperature, air pressure, the physics, especially in X-Plane 11, are amazing. So you can use all the performance charts, all the same checks, and really be a quite safe and realistic flying sim pilot. That's something that we really like. So yeah, climb gradient, important. So my max, and I'm not sure actually. I thought that 700 feet per minute climb would be kind of like maxing out on my Cessna 172, but I'm actually not sure. So we'll just have a look. In either case, it's a minimum climb gradient, so I would say you're always going to climb as fast and as safe as you can. So I'm only spotting or looking for a climb gradient with 500 or up. So I know, whoa, that's going to be challenging. But again, that's given no winds, that's given standard conditions. Just being on my own in my aircraft, if my aircraft is much heavier, then perhaps my gradient, well. So I need to do a little bit more experimenting to get my own personal climb gradients going, so I know whether a obstacle departure is safe for me to fly, and also given those margins. Is interesting. So we can make this particular departure. It's also interesting to see that these climb gradients differ from runway to runway, and that, I guess that has to do with the obstacles around, or perhaps airways or other stuff that the architects here like us to stay clear from. Interesting, I think. Then other stuff, it's also good for me just to rehearse or just to reiterate on the stuff that I've learned, because again, this is new stuff, and just by saying it out loud, I'm also studying this stuff again. I would recommend that as well, Shy. I would recommend that as well. Explain this. Awesome. Yeah, so if we look at the graphic, and this also applies to the standard departure procedure, but also to the arrivals and stars and instrument procedures, you can see there are thicker lines and thinner lines, arrows. So the thinner lines here usually are radials, and they refer to particular routes that you can fly or intersections that you might see. Sometimes we will see with Borrego soon, you also have waypoints that are completely GPS, and there's not a particular, not necessarily a radial that you can use, or intersection, cross-radial kind of reference to know where you need to be. You just need to put that into your GPS. But these thinner lines usually indicate radials, and it's important to distinguish that thinner line from a thicker line, because especially with more, this is a very basic departure procedure, but with more complex stars, for example, or SIDS, there are many different lines, and you might mistake a radial for a track that you need to fly for that departure procedure, and you are going in the wrong there. So it's important to see the difference. So the thicker arrows here, those are the tracks that we actually need to fly. Also with the instrument procedures, there are so many more subtleties and extra symbols that we're going to cover in the next streams that I'm still studying, but this is just one. Also, something that I really find interesting, useful, was that John King in the video said, well, if you see at a particular radio beacon a Chan and then a number behind it, as you can see here, Chan 109er, channel 109er. I think it is related to military use, I think. But then you know that that beacon is actually a Vortec and has DME. So it's useful if you see that and you know that, because usually many procedures rely on DME. Also with approaches, they put that into the title to make sure that you know that you actually need DME equipment to be able to fly that particular approach. Sometimes it's redundancy, but sometimes it's just necessary to fly that. It's necessary that you have DME to fly that particular procedure. Interesting stuff, I think. Anything else on that note? No, I don't think so. Well, something that also they put a lot of attention to is a nodes chart, not to scale. I guess so, because if you look at that runway of Bermuda and look where the thermal VOR is, well, it's actually quite a way ahead there. So this is crammed up in this space just to show you the general idea of what needs to be done here for this flight. So if we're going to read this, what does this particular procedure say? Well, we're going to depart runway 28. That's the runway that we're going to choose, I guess. I don't know what the winds are actually, but let's just pick 28 because it's a more fancy kind of departure. Donnie, good to see you as well. So we're gonna climb. Yeah, so basic takeoff minimums. Well, we know our gradient. We're just gonna climb as fast and safe as we can, and we're gonna read it by the graphical depiction, but we're also gonna read it by text. Usually, all the departures have a textual description. Some of them also have a graphical depiction, which is really handy. 282, we're gonna climb up to 3,000, I believe, was it? Yeah, to 3,000 feet, and I guess that applies to the entire route until we hit thermal, and we're not going to go any higher, I guess, unless we receive other instructions by ATC. Well, in this case, this is just a practice departure, so we're not going to chat with ATC at all. We'll just stay on CTAF. 282 degrees, we're going to climb, and there's an arrow with 900 with a underscore line. Well, there can actually be a line also on top of it. So 2 lines on the bottom, also on the top. There can also be one on the top, and that indicates what actually is meant with that particular altitude. And in this case, we need to stay above that 900 feet. 900 feet is that bottom, and I think in this case we need to climb up until we reach 900 feet in that case, and then we can start our turn to the left to 090 and catch this radial, outbound radial 304, which is coincidentally also a Victor Airway 137 to thermal, I think. Let's have a read. Takeoff runway 28, climb heading 282, yes. To 900 feet, then climbing, yeah, left turn heading 090 to intercept the thermal radio 304 to the vortex. Thence, and then you can go to that latest bit here. Continue climb in the thermal vortex holding pattern to cross thermal vortex at or above your MEA or MCA crossing altitude or your en route altitude for route of flight. Yeah, but you can see there's also a alternative here, which also applies to runway 10. So you can see here that thence or obtain ATC approval for a VCOA. So again, then you don't have any procedure to fly. You're just going to climb up and cross over the airport, given that you've got good VFR or visual conditions. Those are mentioned here. I think that's a ceiling 2,700 and a minimum visibility of 3 statute miles. And I guess you can request that particular kind of procedure. Yeah, when requesting IFR clearance. Climb in visual conditions to cross Bermuda Airport at or above 2,600, then on thermal, the radial, and then yeah, the same way. Okay, so again, this is a very simplistic, very basic procedure, but it's my first one to fly, and I love Bermuda Dunes and the Palm Springs area here. So this one we're going to try out. From thermal, we're going to fly to Borrego, and there we will land and do another departure procedure, AirNav 1. I'm going to set that one in my GPS because we cannot use VORs or stuff. Those are GPS referenced waypoints, and then we're going to go back to Dunes and call it a day. That's what we're going to do. Digital Aviator, winds are light and variable right now. Thank you, sir. Yeah, Shai, exactly. Yeah, so considering winds is actually quite important. That's true. Okay, so enough chat here. I love these pre-flights. We're also going to stay quite local. Usually the weather here in Palm Springs is wonderful, so we're not gonna look this time at all the fancy, pretty-looking weather charts. I believe that's just fine for today. Okay, so sync our track IR here. There we are. In the cockpit, door is open. Yeah, so we still got our pitot tube, and you already removed the tie downs. Oh yeah, I already did in that showcase of the SimCoder's beta version. Walk around, post-flight mode. Ha! Remove pitot tube cover. Well, let's just make sure that everything is removed. Yes, back in the cockpit. Ah, that's efficient. That's quick. So now let's check those. And I can also show you another feature actually that they build in that I didn't show just yet, which is also nice, but not my preferred option. Thanks for the follow, Vetstoer. That's a Dutch user, I guess. Thank you guys. King, thank you also for the follow. Happy Saturday. First check, what we're going to do is make sure that our lights are actually working and that my pitot tube heat is working, which we can now check. So let's do that right now. So batteries on. Landing lights on, taxi lights on, strobe lights on, nav lights on. Beacon light is already on and pitot heat on and the pitot cover is already off. Wonderful. Then walk around. As you can see, guys, it's warming up. Probe temperature. So we'll have a feel, and it actually warms up quite quickly, the pitot heat. Also in the real world, you would not turn on the pitot heat while you are on the ground and while you're taxiing, because the thing can become very, very hot. So hot, in fact, that it can damage the thing. Because it needs airflow that cools down, relatively cools down the pitot tube. So always turn off your pitot tube when you're taxiing. Thanks, Shai, for the follow. Thank you. It's encouraging, guys. Good to see you all. So, yeah, pitot tube heat is working. And yeah, now I like, and that's something that I'd like to see, is also as part of this flow, a way by which I can quickly go to the wingtips to check whether all the lights and stuff are working, which is not included. So I would usually just do this. Let me just quit the walk around, go outside with just a plain old X-plane viewpoint, and I can see here lights are working there, everything is working. Right, so that's important. The lights are actually not the switches work, but also the actual lights work. That's important. So let's turn those off. Lights, and I will show you that feature. What they build in, which is nice, but it's not. It does not have my preference. Is the following: if you do the regular flow, toggle lights. So what sim coders thought, and it is efficient, obviously, by doing the walk around now, you can check whether the lights are actually working. But this is unrealistic. Obviously, in the real world, we cannot reach the cockpit from here, right, and turn on the switch. So this is nice, but not that realistic. And I would rather see that they remove this button and that we can just quickly go to these positions viewpoints to see whether the lights are working. But well, that's just me. Let me know what you think. No piece of glory, no, they need to remove that. Yeah, I think so too. I get the idea, but... okay, but anyways, we check those. That's wonderful. Let's get going, guys. Fasten our seatbelts. Real seatbelts. Door closed. Perhaps you already noticed. If I turn on my batteries, we got new sounds. It gradually spools up the battery. It has new sounds and is much more realistic. And also, it's a great feature, we will get 3D sounds. So now if I turn my head, I don't know if you can hear it in the stream as well, but I can hear that the radio or the battery sound is now coming from my left ear and now from my right ear. And I think all the sounds are 3D. Which is wonderful. I have to say though, I only noticed it with the battery, not during my flight, but again, care they are putting in. Batteries, well, we got some few. Well, let's just be a little bit cowboy-like and pretend that that's okay for this flight. Battery. See, I also forgot my cold and dark checks, by the way, which is not good. Yeah. Avionics on. Lights up. Good. Let's put down our flaps. I'm not going to do the full walk around here. Go down and sync. Oh. Alright. Runway 10 is in use by AI. Transponder is off. GPS we're going to set soon, but the displays are working. Good. Annunciator looks good for now. We are not in sync entirely. We're pointing towards the west, about 255, and that's not where our compass is pointing to at all. 255, something like this, and we can set already our heading back to our runway. 28. Okay, wonderful. Altimeter and stuff we're going to check soon when the engine is running. 13 degrees. Good. We discharged the battery. Wonderful. All right, then a little bit of a throttle in. Fuel tanks are set. Fuel pump on. Mixture in. 1, 2, 3, and cut off. Fuel pump off. Also see now with the priming that the fuel flow arrow or meter is not really wiggling, but it's more steady, which is a nice improvement. Parking brakes are set. Doors closed. We are ready to go. No one is walking around, so clear prop. Put your full in. Nice. 1200. Oil pressure is already in the green. Let's lean for ground. Look at that max RPM. Something like that. Reset. Generator on. Rising the M-meter. Avionics on. Wonderful. Good. So one remark that I put also, or shared with the SimCoders team, I think that the oil pressure goes up instantly with the startup, and I think that's not that realistic. It should go up a little bit more slowly, just in a second or so. And also it's quite high initially. It slowly goes down over time now. So I put a question there if that's correct behavior. Just sharing what I'm thinking. That's true, no pizza. That's true. Yeah, the heading indicator could be broken as well. That's right. All I have to see. Either way, it needs to point to the right direction. Also, not a vacuum failure. We can see that the vacuum is low, but that's because we got a low RPM. So when we're going to do our run up soon, I'd like to see that that vacuum is in the green. Thanks for the follow, Mustaf. Thanks. Thank you. Welcome on board. Let's also put on our transponder here. Even though we're Echo airspace, it's VFR. We can put on this stuff as well. Reality XP here, extension pack, highly recommended. Out of my head, 1 to 2.8 guys. Is Bermuda CTAF? I think so. It's on. Com is on, and do we also have AWAS? Well, I have to look up the frequencies either way. It is. Yeah, Palm Springs, obviously. And Cochrane we can listen to as well. Well, 118.25. Let's have a listen either way. Though the digital aviator already.
Palm Springs INTL information November. 2000 Zulu weather. Wind light and variable.
Light and variable.
Visibility more than 10. Sky clear. Temperature 16. Dew point 5. Altimeter 2992. Arriving runways 13
pressure,
right,
good.
13 left. Departing runways 13
Alright,
right.
we don't need that information. I'll put off the... No, I'll put on... That's correct. Okay, set. Engine is slowly warming up. Anything we need to set here? Well, let's please snipe and also set the stopwatch over there, so we can time our legs. Even though we're flying an obstacle departure and we don't really have times, I should just drill and practice to even start the stopwatch when I'm doing my takeoff roll, or before I'm doing my takeoff roll. Okay, so wonderful. We are ready to taxi. Parking brakes released. Brake tests seem to be working just fine. Pretty looking Bermuda Dunes, a wonderful airport. Did a lot of my initial flying here. Now, one thing that I've noticed with this beta, you can see it already happening. I'm not doing anything and my rudders are calibrated. There's already quite a significant left tendency there. Just not good. Okay. Getting out of the non-movement area here. Some traffic there in the distance. Slip indicator, turn indicator works. My heading indicator is working, no pizza, so that's good. Checked. Attitude indicator is stable. Wonderful. Windsock shows the same thing as we're hearing from Palm Springs, ATIS. Here we go. Well, it does favor runway 28 in that sense, because the windsock is pointing towards that direction. Run up, it says. Well, let's do it then. Run up. A little bit into the wind then. There's some traffic over there. It's a Cessna Skyhawk. I believe we got left traffic here, so that's interesting. Don't hear him on the radio just yet. 122.8 is the Unicom here, right? Yeah, it is. Okay, park and brake sets. Always set to 1000, no idling. And as you can see, our engine is not yet warm enough in the green for us to do our run up. Might damage our engine. So let's set it to 1200 RPM. It's kind of like the max before you're going to damage stuff. So it will foster that temperature increase, hopefully. While we are sitting here, what we can do, and I didn't do yet, and as you can see, guys, this is getting sloppy. I'm not using the checklist at all, which is also bad. To the right, that one goes down. That one goes good, up, down. Trim tab is working, I see, and I like to see my runners work too. Should have done this at the ramp as well. Getting a little bit sloppy with my checks, which is not good, even though it's a simple flight. Ah, Digital Aviator is flying. Well, no, I'm not receiving your calls. I'm connected to PilotEdge, and I am on the CTAF 122.8. I haven't heard you so far, at least. Temperature is increasing. Saturday, guys. Oh, and I've got free time, so I can fly as much as I like. And tomorrow I will fly again, I guess. Also gonna pick a standard departure procedure. Also, what's interesting and I didn't know is that, or didn't realize, is that I have put standard departure procedures to my curriculum at the UncertifiedPilot.com website to practice to fly. But I was chatting with Keith on my Discord, and I was saying, well, I need to practice my approaches. How do I request a practice approach on PilotEdge? And what he showed me was quite basic and really fun to have a mentor or an instructor in that way. It's such a great guy. And I asked him, well, but I also need to practice flying departure procedures. How do I request a practice departure? And he's saying, what? And I said, how do I request a practice departure? And he said, well, as a Cessna Skyhawk, there are no departure procedures for you to fly other than obstacle departures, but usually you're vectored to the first waypoint because no one of the controllers likes a Cessna slow flying Cessna Skyhawk on a SID where high-speed aircraft are flying. The priority number one is to get your slow ass out of the way. So you just get a direct vector. You need to, and once you reach 500 feet AGL, make your turn, get away. And I thought, oh, that makes sense. So yeah, I put standard departure procedures in my curriculum, but for Cessna 172, it's never gonna get assigned such a SID, I think. Hey, Vintage, good to see you. Didn't get a notification. Oh my gosh. Well, glad that you made it here. Hey, Jill, good to see you as well. So that's interesting. So I guess I'm just gonna fly one just for practice sake, just to read charts, but we're never gonna get one with my 172. Okay, we are in the green. Let's see if we got foul plugs. Yeah, mixture full in, 1800s. Looks good, stable, oil pressure, everything is fine on unshaded messages. Left mag. Good enough drop. Ah, do you see? They improved something else that I didn't notice. In my previous flight, I didn't see any fouling, but I think with this beta, have a look at the RPM, guys. So both left mag. That's, I think, that they try to indicate RPM roughness, which is much better than that metallic-y sound that I always refer to when I see that my spark plugs are doing weird stuff. So that's good. The only thing that I would suggest then, I need to update my comments here on the beta page, is I would also like to hear it a little bit more clearly. Usually you also hear that the engine gets rough, and I'm not hearing that. But this is already better. I love sim coders. They are thinking as customers. It's wonderful. Okay, so foul plug. So let's see if we can clean it up. 2000 RPM. Lean until the engine gets rough. There it goes. And we'll stick in this configuration for about 20 seconds. So we heat up the cylinders, burn off, evaporate the lead, the fouling on the plugs. Let's see whatever happens. I do see that the fuel flow, which is also with the current versions, doesn't quite understand what's going on here. So perhaps that's also something that we should note. Ah, finish. You should certainly practice SIDs. Alrighty. But is it correct, Finish, that with the Cessna 172 we will never get assigned a SID? Alright. 20 seconds have passed, 1800. And again, left mag. I still see the roughness in the RPM, so perhaps could be that that RPM roughness that we see is actually not related to the spark plugs. I'm not sure. Need to experiment with that a little bit more. But the fact that that metallic sound is gone, that's a good thing. Should look into how we can improve this and what's going on actually. Stable, stable, stable. Let's go full idle. Let's see if we still got oil pressure. And we have. And no annunciator messages. Wonderful. There we are. Alright, flaps set. Let's just wait a minute for our lights. One more brief. Ah, my iPad is not working. Let's see if I can fix this, guys. Depends on the airspace, okay? Air server, there's a duplicate application running. No, nothing is running at all. Do you want to close the other application? No. Okay, let's do the other way around. Let's disconnect the iPad. Boom. Ha! Success. Wonderful. Back to my 4-flight. Does it update? One more time, guys. One more time. Disconnect my Wi-Fi. I'd like to show you my departure procedure here. Okay, air server is killed and my Wi-Fi too. So now I'm gonna turn on air server. Conflicting application running. No, everything is... Then I don't know how to fix it, unfortunately. Okay guys, unfortunately air server is a little bit grumpy today. I can refer to what I'm seeing, then you can look at Sky Vector and go over to Bermuda and have a look at the obstacle departure procedure that I'm flying. It's the, you know, there's only one, I think, an obstacle procedure there. What we're going to do, and I rehearsed this in the pre-flight as well, we're going to fly 282 straight out at once we reach 900 with a climb gradient at least of about 700 feet per minute. Let's see if we can even do that. I think so. At 900 feet, we're going to make a left turn to 090, and we're going to intercept the radial 304 inbound to thermal. We're going to stick at 3,000 feet. So let's set the thermal as the thermal vortex as well. Did not do that at all. Not good, Tim. Not good. You're getting out of shape. You need to fly more, and I should. Should also get a more regular schedule going, guys, of streaming. I'm so busy, but I'm really loving this. Radial 30, what did he say? 304. Ah, good one. Thanks for the link. in the chat. Follow that link and you'll see the charts. 304. Okay, good. That's the one that we're going to catch. It's currently in the front position. Is that good? Does that matter? No, it should not matter at all. Let's see what happens. Okay. A lot of fuss about a very simple departure procedure, actually. Okay, so here we are. Meanwhile, Digital Aviator is flying around. I didn't hear him on the CTF up to now, but perhaps he disconnected. Ah, perhaps that's him. Well, if you are on the CTF, let me know just one more time, because if I'm not hearing you, we should see an indication of whether we receive something here. If not, then that means that there is something wrong on your end, Digital Aviator. Otherwise, we're going to do a call and just take off. Let's just do that. Flaps are set, trim is set, fuel tanks, lights, landing lights on, strobe lights on. We did our control surfaces, straight out, 900 feet, make a left turn 090, intercept that radial 304, 3000 feet. That's it. And we're gonna hit that timer. What did he say? Yes, click. Huh. What profession, what an expertise, what a talent. Bermuda, June's traffic. Yellow Sky is taking off. Runway 28, flying the, practicing the departure, obstacle departure procedure. Runway 28 to thermal at 3000. Bermuda. Ha! A nice sound bit. Very appropriate. Alright.
It's time for the clock.
For the clock. Sniper's wonderful sound bits. Airspeed is alive. Engine is still looking good. 60 and rotate that baby. Push down on that nose a bit. Keep that cowling over the horizon. Increase that speed to VY. Around 300 feet, we can raise our flaps.
I don't believe it.
He set the clock. I love those sound bits. You sound like a professional sniper. I told you back then, but... So, I'm used to now turning to the left at 700 feet, 300 feet before traffic pattern altitude, a regular kind of procedure for traffic pattern, but this time around, because we're flying IFR, nope, we need to go straight ahead to A2. At 900 feet, we're going to make that turn to the left, and that turn should always be, any turn that you're going to make in an instant procedure should be made with a standard rate turn. So this wingtip should be on that left side, second notch. 090. You can see the OBS is already creeping in. Gonna climb up, gonna climb up. Keep climbing to 3000 feet. A little bit less steep. As you can see, my climb gradient is 900 feet per minute. Well, perhaps a bit less. As you can see now, I'm undercutting that climb gradient that we should fly. Making that turn a little bit too steep, but still, there's 090. But I'm now in the, as you can see, in the front position, so now the thing works the other way around, I think. And I thought that that was not the case, but because it's in the front position, yeah, it works the other way around. So that means that we already passed the radial to fly. And is that logical? I would expect that will work for a 172 though. And I made a standard rate turn, which is also good practice, I think. So that surprised me a bit. That surprised me a bit. If you look at the departure procedure, from that straight out, we'll make a standard rate turn, and then there's still room left to make the to catch that radial. But I guess that's usually only for more faster flying airplanes, turboprops and stuff will take a lot more time to make that turn and well and fly that radial. And in our case, we're so tight in that turn that we already crossed the radial. So I think we should have prioritized on catching the radial rather than making that full turn. Because that whole turning procedure was about catching that radial, I think. What is my engine doing? We've got engine trouble. I still have full power. You can hear the engine is dropping back also in sound. We have not just reached our 3,000 feet cruising altitude, which we are mandatory to fly when we are at when we're flying this obstacle departure procedure. And this is actually something that I have not studied yet. What do you do when you got engine trouble in this flight? Well, we're currently flying VFR. Obviously, I'm practicing this procedure. I think that this might be fire. Oh, damn it, guys. Do you see it? We got engine fire. What do we do? Well, first off, what we do... Oh my gosh, we practiced this. First off is cut off. Let me see. Oh, Mrs. Uncertified is speaking here in the room. You have used the iPad. Ah, guys, Mrs. Uncertified has set me up for a failure here. Get away, I need to practice. Yeah, that's her little hand. Get away, you. That's Mrs. Uncertified saying hello. Okay, so what do we do? Cut off, cut off, cut off, cut off, cut off. Magnesium, yeah, it's all off. But we can keep our radios and stuff in. We need to dive down because we've got fire. We can also extinguish the fire. And as you can see, guys, well, the fire is already extinguished by the airflow, but we need to get down as quickly as possible. Not the perfect light speed, but just get down. Got an urban area here. Where is the airport? It's all the way over there. Are we going to reach that? No. It's over there. Where are we going to drop down? There are fields. Winds are light and variable, so there's not a chance for us to land upwind here. Well, we could, but making a turn at the last moment is not good. What we could do is switch our frequency to guard. 1 to 1.5. Switch. What do you say at the guard frequency? Guard frequency emergency traffic. Yellow Skyhawk is just a part at Bermuda Dunes. We've got engine trouble. We're going to ditch down, crash land in some field 6 miles west of Bermuda Dunes. Last call. Pray for us. Yellow Skyhawk. Bermuda Dunes. Okay, so well, we're not on our glide speed. We're going down fast. These are fields.
500.
No smoke. Not gonna.
Terrain.
Yeah, I know. Caution terrain.
Terrain.
Okay, speed is now dropping quite fast.
Caution terrain.
Seatbelts are set.
Caution terrain. Terrain.
80 knots.
Pull up.
I know,
pull up.
honey. I know. All right.
Terrain.
Over the houses.
Terrain. Pull up. Pull up.
1 notch of flaps. Second notch
terrain.
of flaps.
Terrain. Pull up. Pull up.
I know, honey. There we go.
Terrain.
There goes speeds. Park everything off, 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 off. Park and brakes. Good. Door open. Doors open. And let's go for a soft field as good. And brakes. Brakes, 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 brakes. And release our seatbelts and get out. And with our fire extinguisher and extinguish the thing. That would be the procedure. You can see the engine fire is already out. And I initially thought that we could restart the engine while that's the case, but that's never good because you know that something is wrong. My gosh! Hey Giggles, good to see you as well. Mayday, mayday, exactly, mayday. That's what I should have said. Caution, girlfriend. Thank you, guys. Yeah, so that was pretty okay. But what I noticed, again, turning this to some educational value here, it took some time for me to react. I noticed, and we need to review the video because I think that's not really part of the flight recorder. Thank you, Pizza. It took some time, but I did notice that the RPM was dropping. I think I didn't see anything on my engine gauges in terms of fire of overheating. And once I noticed that something was wrong, it took a few seconds for me to turn over and spot whether we've got a smoke trail behind us, which we had. And then I noticed, and it's also on video, I think, it took me 10 seconds or so to remember what the flow is, and that's not good. These things should be completely on the top of your mind. It should be automatic. You should be able to dream what to do to cut off the engine, and just to keep getting fuel in an engine that's on fire. That's not a good thing. So I should have immediately, when I see smoke coming out there from my engine and I see it on the tail, cut off mixture, no fuel into a burning engine, right? Cut off. And once I remembered, then the flow went going. I also forgot about that emergency descent. So what I've trained myself to do also in previous flights is to go into that glide speed, which is good if your engine just stops, right? You need to like to have as much distance or gliding distance to get to a safe place. This is, well, we made it here in a field which is kind of okay, actually, considering that urban area. But perhaps if we got a gliding speed going, we could have made Bermuda for sure. But because we got engine, we got fire, that's an emergency, and you just need to go down as quickly as possible. So I should have done that in a more just quit, mixture quit, get down, nose down, and then do all the checks, and also get my checklist, by the way, and double check that I didn't forget any items. Good one that I also left the avionics on, the electronics on, because that's not a danger, I think. Only at the last moment I turned those off. I believe that was okay. But yeah, this should be drilled and practiced much often. And Mrs. Uncertified, I've got the Explain Control Pad app on my iPad and all my iPads. I think she also has it on her phone. And she said to me, I'm going to surprise you one day with a failure, because it's in my previous stream, I think in the previous stream, we practice electrical fires, engine fires, but then you know, as she said, you know that you are practicing those emergencies, so you're in that mindset. And the real practice is when you are not expecting that to happen. And well, this was an unexpected happen, so that was happening, so that was cool. Okay, so yeah, that was fun, but I was actually trying to fly that obstacle departure procedure. That wasn't that tough.
Disconnected.
Let's just do it one more time, because perhaps you can also optimize it a little bit. Let's just go to the runway. Disconnected from PilotEdge here. Runway 18. Can I also, yeah, confirm? That's fine. Let's see if we can take off here and do get that radial capture going, and then connect with PilotEdge again. So batteries and stuff is on, avionics off still. I guess the engine is still warm, I think. Throttle a bit in. Park and brake sets. That's interesting. On. Good. Let's see what happens. No, the engine is not warm, as you can see here. Okay, so that means that I guess we need to prime the engine once more. A little bit more. Yes. 1, 2, 3. Cut off. And again. Yes. On. Nice. 1200s. Let's keep it at 1200s. Lean. Work around. Alternator is already on. Avionics on. Flaps already set. Wonderful. Let's set the CTAF here. Even though we're not on PilotEdge just yet, we're going to do that once we have taken off. Otherwise, we'll use the runway here. And there might be other pilots flying. Okay, 122.8. That was fun, my gosh. 122.8. CTAF, roger. We got also a Vortec. Thermal 116.2. And we needed to fly. Yeah, that's already still set. Okay, good. And at the bottom, the 2 position. Always the 2 position. I need to remind myself of that. Again, big gyro drift. That's 2.8 something. Dero, thanks for the follow. Thanks for the follow. 2.8 and a bit. 2.82, most likely, because that was the straight out heading that we needed to fly. Okay, good. Engine is already rapidly warming up. Again, let's please snipe here, reset the clock, and we're going to set that once we're going to take off. Transponder is set, we don't need the second GPS. Fine by now. So, again, if you look at the obstacle departure procedure, follow the link, then I would have expected that we have, once we hit 900 feet, we're going to make that turn. Left turn to 090, and we're going to catch that radial, 304 towards thermal. But I guess because we're flying so slow, as a Cessna Skyhawk, we were already past that radial. And so we needed to recapture that radial, which was not like the obstacle procedure. So I guess the radial thing is primary, it has priority here. So we're going to take off, make that left turn at 900 feet, and look at this particular radial and see if we can catch it on the go while we are making that turn. And again, it's important for us to warm up the engine first, because if we don't, regardless of what Mrs. Uncertified is doing with her iPad, we might damage the engine. Let me see what Chai is saying. Why the engine started with those two. Right, Chai, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, so if we got an engine, if we got an electrical fire and the engine would quit, then we could still perhaps turn on the engine because the electrical fire is on this side of the firewall than opposed to the other side. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Chill, that's true. That's true. And in that way, you can also input the departure. I think also the obstacle departure procedure in your GPS. It just has a code and you can just load it up, which is great. No pizza, don't mind her, she's just watching Twitch. That was fun. And that's the way to properly train it. I would have loved a feature where I could assign one of you guys the permission to set a particular failure going. But I think that's not possible remotely, only by Keith on PilotEdge to do. But that would have been great practice. You can earn a failure to set at one of my flights. That would be wonderful, but a bad idea. Well, not everyone, but just only one person can earn it. Engine is in the green. Roger, so let's go, guys. Landing lights, everything is on. Tracker yard enable, let's go. Full power. A little bit of right rudder there. Speed is alive. Engine is still okay. Pressure is good. Shader messages. Good. Make sure full in, Tim. Ah, it already wants to get up, I can see. Nose down trim? Well, a bit. Didn't reset my trim. It's dangerous. Nose down. Also, I noticed that when I'm departing now with 10 degrees flaps, or actually 20, I can see. Oh my gosh, that explains. Also with 10 degrees of flaps, that you have a much better view, outside view, in case also of a rejected takeoff, to spot any places where you can ditch your airplane, rather than when you're flying with flaps up, in a flaps up condition, when you're much steeper, high up pointed. So That's also one of the things that I like to do now, depart with 10 degrees of flaps. Still flying 282, ignoring 700 feet here to make that crosswind turn. So again, same radial, standard rate turn, but once I catch it, I will stick on it. And I think it was crossing at one point, but let's see. 700 feet, guys, so 800 feet is max. So 700 feet as a personal limit is not bad. So yeah, 500 nautical miles, 500 feet per nautical mile. Climb gradient is the max for my Cessna 172, and this is just by my own in the cockpit. Imagine having it fully loaded. Here comes the needle. Still flying inbound, still flying inbound. Keep that gradient coming. It should be a minimum of 500. Yeah, and now I'm too soon. So now I need to roll out and catch it. Okay, this is what I should have done, I think. Even though the obstacle departure procedure prescribes us to go 090 to catch the radial, apparently this 172 has all the time in the world. Now we're on that radial, and now we're gonna catch it. Keep that climb going. Minimum of 700 feet per minute. Good. So good to trim it here. Why am I overturning? Because I'm out of shape. That's why. Okay, good. And get up to 3,000 feet. Trim, BY, landing lights off. Flaps are still up. Straw pole, yeah, that's also one that we can use indeed. Yeah, so that earlier climb gradient thingy was not really reliable because I was still flying with 10 degrees of flaps. With flaps up, you can see, well, it's kind of comparable actually. Well, it's a bit more. It's a bit more. But 700 feet per minute, that's a good ceiling. With good flying, good aircraft condition or configuration, I mean. I mean, with 3 passengers here aboard, we might hit 500 or even less. So yeah, getting up to 3,000. That's our ceiling for this departure. There we are. Don't touch the throttle just yet. First, nose down, gain speed. And once we hit cruise speed, then we're going to reset everything and trim. Thermal's already over the nose. There's 100. Let's reset. Oh yeah, Digital Aviator, I followed up on your remark on your stream earlier that the sim coders was not really flying by the tables, the performance tables. So I tried myself, but in my case it did work almost perfectly. So perhaps you did not set the right standard conditions or something else. But on my end it looked just perfect. Let's get to 23, 20 something. It's lean also. Wonderful. Yeah. Well, at 4,000 feet, with 2,400 RPM, I think we can pull it up here. Kneeboard. References. Takeoff performance. 4,000 feet. 2,400. At 0, I should get a speed of 109. And a fuel flow of 8.5. Well, that was on the money in my case. Drifting off of that radial, just a tiny bit. Yes, but it should be now I get you. Alright, so it's flying by the tables. I thought you referred to the SimCoder's tables as well. Okay, that's weird. So what you're saying is actually that the entire table of SimCoders here does not correspond with a 172 SP. Okay, well, that's a good question to pose. Do you have material or PDF or something that you can send me as a reference? So I can send it to the guys. Alright, so what we're doing already 200 feet too low. This is not good. Bit sloppy here, so let's change it right now. We are going to fly from Thermal to Borrego, which is all the way over there. There we're going to land and do another obstacle departure procedure if time allows. I think it does. Because it's an airnav departure, which is also interesting. So we're not flying a VOR, but we're using the GPS to fly that obstacle departure, which is cool. But then again, it would be nice if I could just set my air server so I can show you the chart. So let's see if I can get that going. If not, then we'll call it a day. I will fly tomorrow as well. Radio is running off, as you can see on the nav 1. That's because we are overflying thermal. Let's see if we can improve our EGT there. A little bit of a lean. No, that's too much of a lean. Good. Fuel is also still good. We're now overflying thermal, so let's hit that stopwatch. Lights off. Lean. Frequencies we can switch soon. I know that we need to go that direction. Wonderful flying weather as always here in the Palm Springs area. Perfect. Cleared of the departure. We should have flown a holding pattern here. We're going to do that also soon. Which might also be cool to do as part of the Bermuda departure procedure here. And fly all kinds of different holding patterns based on a VORTEC, but also based on an NDB and intersection. It'll be challenging, guys, I can tell you. Does the temperature in the AI need to be set before reading the charts? Oh, this particular thing. Yeah, how does it work actually? I've been tinkering with that as well. But you can change this up. You can, I mean, pressure altitude I think is also dependent on temperature. And you can change that up, but I don't know based on what. I see 4 degrees here, but that's 4 degrees at 4,500. So yeah, so I need to stick at 3,500 I mean. So we're gonna fly to the east, southeast. Or perhaps even westerly. So let's get to 4,500-ish. Get that climb going. And then you get your true airspeed, I think. Yeah, exactly, old fly. Exactly. But what temperature, what do I need to set it? I mean, now we've got 3 degrees, right? At 4,000 right now. I guess this temperature should be set on this temperature, right? So this is 0.3, so how does that work? I just turn it all the way back. And set it on 3 degrees? Or how does that work? Outside air temperature. Roger, this is the outside air temperature. But how do I read it? It's a bit... So, what's the center mark? Is that this or... This is the... I don't know how to read this, guys, sorry. And I should have. Let me know. If you tell me, I will set it and we can play around with it to see if we can derive our true airspeed. Luckily, no engine fires by Mrs. Uncertified at the moment. That's wonderful. Everything is looking fine. Let's have a look at our wonderful Cessna Skyhawk. Oh yeah! She's so pretty. Man. $4,500. We're still flying east though. Zero degrees is the center mark. Roger. All right. Well, let's test. Let's test. Why not? We're still not on PilotEdge, but I will do so anyway. Please.
Connected to PilotEdge.
Connected to Pilot, thank you. 4,000 feet. If I click the thing here, I will get my current pressure automatically. Alright. And you're saying 75% power. That's a weird kind of measure. Because what's 75% power? Yeah, your throttle, but I think it's more precise to measure it in terms of RPM. But okay, 75%. So this is full. This is off. So this should be 75-ish, like 2400 RPM or 2450 or 2350. Well, that could make a difference, digital. That could make a difference. If that's not that precise. Alright, 4,000 coming up. And 4,000. Okay, got a lot of airspeed here. Let's set more RPM to 2400 first. Let's just stick to that, and it might correspond with 75%. As we're slowing down, our RPM will slow down as well. Speed 2400, 4,000 feet. Okay, indicated is well 109er. If I do my true airspeed, if I follow you guys, this is the center mark. That's 0, right? So it's now 3 degrees outside, positive. But if it's negative, how would you use it in that way then? Because there's no negatives here on this particular thingy. Or am I mistaking the entire thing? So this is 0, or is this 0? I guess this is 3 degrees then. So that means that we're flying about 112 true airspeed with 2400 RPM. Negative is to the right. Negative is to the right, so this is, I've now set minus 3 degrees. Well, that makes sense, because the warmer it gets, the slower my true airspeed might be. But then if I go this way around and this is positive, or are you going to deduct this number from this scale? This is not self-evident, to me at least. Hey, Bino Pizza, thank you for dropping by. Have a great Saturday. The white ring is your altitude. Oh. Yeah. Okay. 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 Interesting. Should have already been so knowledgeable of this, guys. Sorry. Okay, so pressure altitude. This is, I guess, in thousands. So we're currently at 4,000 pressure altitude, right? Set 4 on the white ring. Yes. 4. I thought it also had to do with temperature, but here you see the temperature on top, and that's something that you should add. Yes. So now we got... Yeah, so now I set it on 4, which is kind of close enough because it corresponds with the altimeter, but we're not taking into account temperature, if I follow you. So I need to add 3 degrees to this, and that's just adding it. So 4 tick marks is 30 degrees in temperature difference. Is that how I need to read this? Anyways, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. I mean, if you look at what this does, but in any way, the digital aviator said it should be around 120 knots in 2400 RPM, 4000-ish. And it doesn't seem like it at all. So that's a bit weird then. Each mark is 10 degrees Celsius. Yeah, but yeah, obviously, but that's the so that's the difference. So yeah, from 0 to 30, each tick mark is then 10 degrees, obviously, to the left and 1 to the right. Yeah, so 3 degrees would be a tiny little difference in this case. So this is just for taking temperature not into account, or we're just pretending that it's 0 degrees right now outside, but it's 3 degrees. So we'll add 3. And plus should be on that side, by the way. So it should be this way around then. And this would be 3-ish. I think I said it correctly. Now you got it. Thanks, Old Fly Guy. Thank you for the patience. Okay, thank you. Again, that's what I love about the stream, that you guys teach me. Ah, okay. So pressure, altitude combined with temperature obviously gives your pressure, or gives your, yeah, how do you call that? That's the pressure altitude, I guess. Yeah, this is not the pressure altitude, this little thingy. This is the density altitude, I guess. Density altitude plus your correction for temperature gives you the pressure altitude. Is that correct? Interesting. Yeah. Okay, Digital Aviator, I understand your concern there. So the SimCoder's 172 current version flies by its own tables, but the tables perhaps do not correspond with the actual tables. Or the tables of a real actual 172 SP. Okay, this is all nice. Let's get rid of this GPS. We are now flying somewhere around the west coast of the Salton Lake. Yeah, I cannot show you the map. That's irritating. I'm going to fix that right now. So apparently multiple versions of Air Server are running, even though I don't see those in the taskbar. Guys, let me just fiddle around. Air Server. Exit. Kill. Go away. Yeah. Looks good. Then this and this and this. Then Error server, do you want to allow this app? Yes, I do. No duplicate kind of messages here. Yes. Error server. Conflicting application running 3 times? No. Okay. That's a bummer. That's a bummer. Sorry guys, I don't know what's going on. I don't like to go into the task manager while I'm streaming because usually that brings messy things into my stream. Hop over to SkyVector then and go to the sectional. I will look at my foreflight here to see where we are, not using the GPS. So obviously at the west, yeah, we see a city below. We see a highway, which I also see on the map. There should actually be an airport, Salton Sea, and also a Salton City. It should be somewhere around there. That seems urban-y like. Although this also seems urban-y like. Some clouds are coming in. So let's see by that reckoning we can find Borrego. Flying on PilotEdge, so we can expect other airplanes here as well. Did you fix the ATC CTEF issue, Digital? Because that was a bit weird. Perhaps I have something not working on my side, but... Alright, this is city-like, but not that much. No, this is something different, I think. And again, this is why you need to set the clock, so you can also use your distance there in terms of time to know when to expect particular reference points. I think that's Salton Sea. So, looking at my map, I will go down south, follow this particular highway, and on this side there should be some gravel airport, Salton Sea. Kilo Sierra Alpha Sierra should be somewhere over there. So let's go down. Go strictly to fly VFR altitudes here. 3,500 is a VFR altitude going to the east. Okay. And we fly to the airport, and once I know where I am from the Salton Sea, we can go further down west that direction to get to Borrego. No other VORs or stuff. Well, we could use VORs, but I'm not going to do that. If you look at my sectional, if I fly a little bit more farther down south past Salton Sea, there should be a road going to the right, to the west, where we need to go to get to our Borrego airport, which makes sense because someone needs to drive up to that airport, so usually roads are going to airports. Alright, we're still nicely leaned, good. What's the CTEF of Borrego? That is 1 to 2.8, that's still set. Yep. Look at the chart, there should actually already be a road going to the right earlier than Salton Sea. I see a crack there in the terrain. Ah, here's a road. Ah, here's the Salton Sea. Guys, I was expecting it to be much farther ahead. Again, this is why you need to set the clock. I guess that's the Salton Sea. I could misidentify it, make sure that there's no other airports. No, it should only be the Salton Sea on this road. And a little bit further up north. So this side there should be a road going this direction. And that's this road. Okay, that will bring us also to Borrego. Nice. Let's go further down. Finish, yeah. Yeah, that's Lima 08. Yeah, I cannot wait to fly ATC on when I'm IFR. I totally agree. And I will soon. So what I'm going to do now, I'm also looking at the time before I'm going to have dinner. I will go to Perigo, but before I'm going to land at Perigo, I'm going to do a DME arc based off Julian, I think. Julian Vortec, yeah. And that's going to be a DME arc, a bit of an arc at 20 nautical miles. And I'm going to set a crosswind here, just set my manual weather and see if I can fly a proper DME arc with a significant crosswind component. And I will fly the DME arc from south to north or from the north to the south. So I'm going to set a easterly or westerly crosswind there. Below 3,000 feet, at least MSL, but I guess also AGL. So that means that we're now free to fly whatever altitude we like. In that case, it's always better not to fly on even round numbered kind of cruising altitudes, because usually that's what people pick when they fly VFR at 2,500 or at 2,000. So it's better to fly at 2,300 or at 3,700. So you guarantee yourself, I guess, a little bit more of a traffic separation. Let me see, finish. I was looking at the departure Kumba, I think. No, it's the Zungu, because that's an obstacle. That's an obstacle departure. That's the one that I was looking at, but I don't think I have the time to do that one. So I'm going to fly to Perigo, do that DME arc with crosswind, because that was my main target here. At least as part of my training program, next to the obstacle departure at Bermuda, and then I will call it today. Tomorrow there's another day, and then I'm going to do that departure from Perigo with a crosswind component. So it's going to be interesting. And then I have a lot of more free time to do some other training. And I can also do a SID, I think. But I guess on PilotEdge with ATC you're not allowed to fly a SID as a Cessna Skyhawk. I mean, because we're too slow. So that's what we're going to do in that one that we're going to do in Echo airspace. Or I don't think I guess there are no standard departure procedures for non-towered airports, so I guess we're just going to do that offline, not connected to PilotEdge and practice one. You can file it, yeah, but then I need to do all the ATC stuff, which I have not rehearsed and not studied just yet. So I just like to familiarize myself just with the procedures, just to fly those plates. Let's see what happens. Meanwhile, 1 to 2.8, yes, and my COM2 can already be set to the AWAS 126.575. COM2.
Borrego Valley weather. Wind light and variable. Visibility more than 10. Sky clear. Temperature 9, dew point 6. Altimeter 2990.
Good. Alright, so good flying weather. Following that road. And Perigo should be to our left side. Yes. Is there any point here that we can make that turn? Around here, if I look at the terrain in the map, and Perigo should be somewhere over there. So we're already on CTAF. COM1 is enabled. Landing lights on is a little bit too early. No use of the clock, but I should have calculated that. We can leave our mixture leaned. Okay. Well, perhaps we can turn our landing lights on. We can also already cheat a bit and look. There's Perigo. There's Perigo. Yep. Okay. What runway? We've got runway 8. It's the opposite direction. of what we're coming from, so a 2.6 straight in would be much more obvious, but a straight in at a untowered airport is never recommended because you don't know what other pilots are flying there, also not flying on the radio, which is unlikely but legal. So it's better to always enter the pattern. So that's what we're going to do. Airport elevation is 520, so 1500 feet is going to be our traffic pattern altitude. We can already slowly start our descent, so just pull on that throttle and allow the airplane to do its own work. Also, by the way, I'm noticing that my oil temperature is on the low side. And I don't know what could explain that. Perhaps, no, I'm not really descending that much. I was just in cruise, 2400 RPM. So that's a bit off. Okay, we're close enough to make our first call. What we're going to do is enter the left downwind for runway 26 from the north side. So we're going to fly like this, then go to the left here, cross the field, make a teardrop to the right and enter the left downwind for runway 26, base and land. That's a proper procedure. So let's do that. Burigo traffic, yellow Skyhawk is 8 miles east of the airport, currently at 2,700, inbound for full stop. We're gonna overfly the field from the north to the south and make a right teardrop entry for the left downwind runway 26 for a full stop. Burigo. Took up a little bit too much time there in phrasing, but going down a bit, and even though the traffic pattern altitude is at 1500 feet, we should overfly the field at least 500 feet above that traffic pattern altitude, so we don't fly into any other traffic that's already there. So 2000 feet would be my target altitude right now. One thing that I do know is there's at Burigo, I believe, a Learjet flying recklessly. Traffic patterns or some kind of looping over here. AI traffic that is not taking us into account at all. So let's see if we can squeeze ourselves into that weird cowboy-like behavior. Picture full in. Again, lights are on, parker brakes are released. Everything looks good to me. Wonderful. Ah, that's why digital. Okay. Issue with PilotEdge today. The voice server went down. Aye. I'll try Burigo in a minute. Roger. Slowly going down. Nice to see some clouds for a change here. This area. Usually it's just clear skies all around and all the good stuff. The IMC stuff is over that part near Ramona and LA. From the ocean side, and it's not cannot reach us here because of this terrain. Let's do another position report as soon as we make that turn to the left to overfly the field, but perhaps someone has missed us our position report because he or she was outside of the airplane, but now has sat down, tuned in, and does not know that we are on our way. So we good, always good to do regular position reports. One, your initial one when you're far out, 10 or 15 nautical miles out. Also one when you are reaching the terminal area, as a reminder.
Did you get the feeling we forgot something?
Yeah, I do. And I should have set the clock, Snipe. I should have set the clock. He's always here, Snipe, no matter who uses that soundbite. Alright, coming up to 2000 feet. Again, looking for that other traffic, but I don't see it. Which does not give me a safe feeling, actually. Let's put in a little bit more power here so we level off. Ah, there it is. Or a Learjet? It's not a Learjet. How is that? That's that Honda jet, isn't it? Okay. Almost there, midfield. Alright, there we go, guys. The Rico traffic yellow Skyhawk is overflying the fields from the north to the south. We're currently 1 mile north at 2,000 feet, and we're going to enter the left downwind for runway 26 for a full stop. There we go. See the Learjet already taking off there. Alright, nice. Once we hit midfield, we're going to set up our descent. Traffic pattern altitude, wait a mile, then turn to the right and make a 270-degree turn so we never fly on top of anyone. Let's see if we can spot that departing traffic. Don't see it just yet. Was doing a low approach, it seemed. Okay, there's Borrego. Send RPM, lights, everything is on Roger. Going down. 500 feet per minute. Where is that other traffic? Not in sight. Still a little bit further away still. We're now past our downwind leg. Distance from the airport. Alright, let me see. And let's make that turn. Oh, there's the Learjet over there. My gosh. Okay, he's fast. Alright, making that turn. Getting my speed back to around 100 knots. Lucas, yes, thank you, Digital. Good action on your part, thank you. 1500 feet, that's our traffic pattern altitude, so a little bit more power, but we keep our speed below 100 knots. 1 notch of flaps. There's the field, and now we're enter on a 40-degree entry. Borrego traffic yellow Skyhawk is entering the left downwind for runway 26 on the 45-degree for a full stop. Here we go. Wonderful, 90 knots, it's perfect. Make sure no one is already on the downwind, so we have full view here. Don't see anyone, only that weird Learjet that is perhaps already over there. And is Nordo. Chemo, you're not to blame. I know you're with us. Trusty moderator. I think almost at the beginning, Chemo, weren't you? Moderator. When I started my stream. Or streams. Okay, keep it plus 80. Borrego traffic yellow Skyhawk is on the left downwind 26 full stop. Borrego. Alright, again, while we are on the downwind, we can already start our descent a tiny bit. And looking for that Learjet with those weird low approaches, and I don't see him. And there's a risk here of him. Ah, there he is on the runway. Ah, I cannot look far away over my shoulder, but he's over there. So that's great. Flying on our tail. Yeah, Chemo. The first episode, my gosh. Yeah. Long time ago. All right. There we go. Get our speed to the white band. Our second notch of flaps. Borrego traffic, yellow sky goes now turning left base. 26, full stop. Borrego. Heading back to the left. There it is. Straight out in the white band. Second notch of flaps. No one is there. There's the runway. Four whites on the Papi. Speed is okay-ish. Where you go? Traffic. Yellow sky is now turning final. Runway 26. Full stop. Where we go? Good.
500.
I know. 1. Red. Trimming up here. Also noticing that, what's on my mind in terms of landing is that I should really decrease my landing speed. Usually I'm landing with 65, but it's a short approach speed. But I should land with full flaps, just as the manual says, and actually land with with my yoke fully aft. So I stall onto the runway. Oh, there's the Learjet coming there on downwind. Uh-oh. So we made the field by now, so that's a measure by which you can set full flaps. In case of an engine out, we still make the field with full flaps. Alright. Now again, you like to have some margin there, so it's not good to be already at stall speed, but our stall speed with full flaps is 40, so we got a lot of speed still to get rid of, or energy to get rid of. So let's see if I can do that. Alright, nose up. Up, 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 up. My nose is still up, and there goes the speed. Good. Not perfect, but good. I like to get off of this runway as quickly as I can, because that Learjet is going to be on our tail. And laps up. Borrego traffic, yellow sky is clear, runway 26, taxiing to parking. Made it. Nice. Okay, landing lights off, lean for ground. Anything else that we need to do? No, we don't. So let's get going. Nice and smooth. Exactly. Borrego, very nice non-towered airport here in this deserty scenery. Wow, that thing is really going fast. Excuse me. So, oh, I totally forgot to fly my DME arc. Okay, so that's something that we're going to do tomorrow. It was a nice flight. I also really appreciated the unexpected engine out, actually. But that was my very first obstacle departure procedure. Not that difficult. I knew that already at the beginning, but it was interesting. And it's gonna get much more complex in the next few streams. Tomorrow I will fly again and continue with these obstacle departures. We'll do one here at Borrego and head over to Bermuda, I guess, or we're gonna pick another destination airport. We'll have to see. Do that DME arc, and yeah, just complete the obstacle departure bit, and move on to the standard departure procedures, which are going to be a little bit more complex. All right, here we are. Now we should actually tow our airplane, as you can see. You know, cannot make this turn. Our right wheel should remain on the tarmac here. Something like this. A little bit farther ahead, and yeah, good. Avionics off and cut off. Good. Magnetors off, batteries off. Fuel pump off. And there we are, guys. That was a really nice flight. Thanks, Old Fly. Thank you for the advice. Thank you for the support. Hoping to see you in one of the next streams. Thanks. Learn a lot. So, thanks, Snipe. Thank you. So let's tow the airplane. Boom. I know. So... ish. Whoa, this is actually quite tough. Yeah, a little bit more to there. Yes. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead. And my main wheel should actually be on that wheel. Oh, on that line, I mean. So like this. Boom. Then we can go outside now with that new feature that is coming up. The post-flight mode. Pitot tube, cover. Boom. Toggle tie down. Tie down. Tie down. Finish. Nice. Anything else? No, that's about it. Wonderful. Let's have a look at the landing, guys. Let's have a quick review. I don't know if that actually works with all the tie-down stuff down. If that... well, we have to see. Have a look. PilotEdge disconnects. Flight recorder. Boom. Yeah, that's not really a recommended aircraft configuration to fly. Control P. And there we go. So as you can see, teardrop entry, very nice, works every time. Came down nicely, looked for that salt and sea. Wonderful. Shift 4. All right, full flaps. Let's see. Nose up, nose up, nose up. Nose up, nose up, nose up, nose up, nose up. Good. It just drops down naturally. Could have been a little bit better though. There was still quite some energy still under the wings. But hey. I got the idea, I think. Looks like skis almost. Nice. Alrighty. Let's get a nice ending shot here. At Borrego. Something like this. Ooh. Like this one. Haha, Borrego. Okay, so guys, that completes today's flight. My first obstacle departure flight. Nice. Basic, not that difficult, but I enjoyed it. And this is one of the first steps towards more complex departure procedures, but also arrivals and instrument approaches. And I will include ATC too very, very soon, especially when I need to. Because with these obstacle departure, I can just fly an echo without any ADC. So this is actually legal and the proper way of doing things. But when I'm going to fly those instrument approaches, I am going to chat with ADC. And then things are going to get more and more interesting until I eventually fly proper IFR flights on PilotEdge, including departures, including clearances and stuff, failures, emergencies, the whole bunch. If you're curious of what's coming up, have a look at UncertifiedPilot.com for my self-made curriculum, my training. You'll see what flight tasks are up ahead. But that's going to be something that I'm going to do tomorrow. The next obstacle departure procedure, also that DME arc in a crosswind component condition. I think that's really valuable and good to practice. And perhaps we're going to do some other stuff as well. Need to see where we're going to do that, perhaps here in the Palm Springs area or perhaps at Bakersfield. If you have suggestions of nice areas to fly and do those procedures, let me know on Twitter or here on Twitch. That's very much appreciated. Kima, thank you for dropping by. Always good to see you here. Finish, thank you for your tips. And as always, the Digital Aviator, thank you for dropping by. And good to know that nothing is wrong with our mics, but somehow PilotEdge is not working today, or the voice server is not working. Hoping that they will fix that soon before PilotEdge goes live, I think in 5 minutes. Old Fly Guy, I know you're already gone, but thanks again for the tips, for the true airspeed indication stuff and the pressure altitude with the airspeed indicator. That's also why I love to stream, guys, to learn from you as an uncertified certified pilot sniper. Thank you also for dropping by. Also, thank you for all the resubscriptions, by the way. Snipe, Chemo as well, and also some follows. Really wonderful, guys. Thank you for that encouragement. Have a great evening, at least here in the Netherlands. My evening is just going to get started. Going to make some dinner, and tomorrow I will stream again. Watch my Twitter, Discord and stuff where I will post on what time I will stream, and we're going to continue with this IFR stuff. I'm really enjoying myself here. Ha! So, as always, happy flights and blue skies. Bye, guys.
Palm Springs Tower, Skyline Hotel Tango. The mic is 10 miles north of the airport at 3000. With information X-ray for a full stop. Landing 13 left if that's available.
Papa Hotel Tango India Mike, Palm Springs Tower, squawk 6250.
6250.
Papa Hotel Tango India Mike, Palm Springs altimeter is 2985, radar contact about 10 miles west of the Palm Springs VOR. Presently landing runway 31, you're requesting straight in for 13.
If that's available, yes please.
Remember, correction, Papa Hotel Tango India Mike, make straight in runway 13 left and clear to land. Wind 0905.
Clear to land, runway 3 left, Papa Hotel Tango India Mike, thanks.
Palm Springs clearance, plus 4658 is type PC12 land call, request clearance to Vegas S-file.
Plus 4658, Palm Springs clearance. Good afternoon. Unable to give you S-file. I'll be forward standing. Plus 4658 is cleared to the Las Vegas airport. VFI Cathedral 1 departure procedure to Palm Springs. Victor 370 to 29 Palms. Victor 538. Cresto. Join the Cresto 3 arrival. Maintain 7,000. Expect flight level 2405 minutes after departure. Departure frequency 126.7, squawk 6316.
Plus 4658 is cleared to Vegas via Cathedral 1, Palm Springs, Victor 37029, Palms, Victor 538, Cresto 3, initially climb 7000, expected for 0 F25, departure 127, squawk 6316 plus 465.
Plus 4658, readback is correct. Tango India Mike, taxi to the ramp via Echo remaining frequency.
Taxiing to the ramp via Echo, remaining on this frequency, Papa Hotel Tango India Mike.
Ontario Tower, Cessna 237 Charlie Alpha, approximately 4 miles to the west, inbound to land.
Number 237 Charlie Alpha, roger, inner left traffic. Left downwind runway 26 left, report base.
And left downwind for 26 left of McCoy base, 237 Charlie Alpha.
Charlie Tower, United 242 on the visual for 20 right, will be turning for a right base shortly.
United 242 John Wayne Tower, runway 20 right, clear to land, wind 170 at 13.
Clear to land, 20 right, United 242.
Palomar Tower, King Air 520 Kilo, ILS 24.
King Air 520 Yankee Kilo, Palomar Tower, runway 24, clear to land, wind 210 at 11.
Clear to land, Washington Kilo.
Number 237 Charlie Alpha, runway 26 left, clear to land.
26 left, clear to land, 7 Charlie Alpha, thank you.
Palm Springs route plus 4658 is trying to weather going for taxi.
Plus 4658, Palm Springs ground, runway 31 right, taxi via Echo and Bravo.
Trail right via Echo Bravo 465.
Riverside Tower, good morning, November 2903 Alpha, with you on the island.
Number 2903 Alpha, Riverside Tower, good afternoon. Runway 9 right, clear low approach, report to miss.
November 2903 Alpha, VF low approach, runway 9, next report is 50.
Palm Springs Tower plus 465 ready to go trail right at Bravo.
Plus 4658, Palm Springs Tower, runway 31 right, clear for takeoff.
Shift takeoff trail right plus 465.
Palomar Tower, King Air 520 Yankee Kilo, located at 24.
King Air 0 Yankee Kilo, roger, taxi into the ramp via Alpha.
Via Alpha 0 Kilo, thanks.
Pilot is 4658, contact SoCal departure.
Contact departure 465.
Says the 7 Charlie Alpha is clear of the active taxi to the GA parking, please.
We're 7 Charlie Alpha, remain on this frequency taxi into the South Ramp via Sierra.
South Ramp via Sierra with you, 7 Charlie Alpha, thanks.
Number 2903 Alpha going around.
Number 03 Alpha, confirm going around or going missed?
November 2903 Alpha going missing.
Number 03 Alpha, roger, execute the published missed approach procedure.
Flying